Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Roy Garcia. I am the founder and executive director of the College Scholarship Leadership Access Program, CSLAP, and I'll be hosting today's panel on UTRGV students and graduates talking about their college transition process. We have four amazing panelists, and I'd like to introduce them today. Actually, Sophia, would you like to give us more information about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Sofia Ramos. I graduated from Edinburgh North High School in 2018. My major is international business, and I'm expected to graduate May 2022.
Hi, my name is Adolfo Garcia. I graduated from Thomas Jefferson T-STEM Early College High School PSJA, graduation class of 2018. I'm currently attending UTRGV. My major is in chemistry with a specialization in pharmacology, and my graduation year is presumed to be 2023.
Hello, my name is Calista Nevadas. I graduated from Robert Bella High School in 2018, and I'm at UTRGV studying business management, and I intend to graduate in May 2022.
Hello, my name is Christian Mercado. I graduated from PSJ North High School in 2012. I studied biology at UTRGV, and I graduated in 2019.
Thank you all. So let's get started with the first question. In what ways do you or did you enjoy your UTRGV experience more than your high school experience?
For me personally, I felt like high school was it was just more open and it wasn't as serious and people didn't know what they wanted to do. So I liked that at UTRGV or in any college for that matter, you know what you're doing and you have a purpose and it's going somewhere. You know, I graduated in 2022, so I know that from then and there on, I have something to do, whether it be a job or my master's or whatever that is.
What I enjoyed the most going to UTRGV compared to high school would be the idea that the lecturers and the teachers and the professors there, they don't treat you like, oh, you need to get this done. It's basically it's based around your schedule and your time. So for example, I work part-time, but a lot of the time sometimes my classes will conflict on occasion. All I gotta do is email my professor and say, oh, by the way, I have work today, could you send me an email kind of trying to catch me up. And for me, I think that's what really what I enjoy most is the fact that you don't have to show up to class, but if, let's say, in the event that you have to miss class, which I don't recommend, uh, they're more than willing to work with you just to help you out to graduate or to get past the class. That's what a lot of professors do, and that's what I really enjoy about university compared to high school. Not that the teachers aren't helping you exactly, but they're more than willing to go above and beyond. That's what I enjoy the most about university.
For me, I like choosing my own classes. For example, I work and it kind of conflicts with my schedule sometimes, so I separate breaks out. Instead of having to do the homework at home, I do it during school hours and then have work in the evening. And that just really helps with my management and all that.
I think what I enjoyed about UTRGV was learning outside of the classroom. And it touches on what Sophia was talking about, where it's a lot more focused in terms of what you're wanting to study. And you get to meet a lot of people that have the very similar interests. So you get to kind of bounce ideas off of each other on your majors and just have these out of classroom discussions with, in detail on, certain subjects that I never found myself having in high school. But adding to that, like, you can also study together, those late night study sessions, and like you really have fun with it. You get to meet all these different people, and I don't know, it was just something that I hadn't done in high school, because I felt like in high school our interests, the interest that I had with my friends, it was kind of divided. And I don't know, I really enjoyed the whole like interacting with people in similar majors and whatnot, but also going to like different workshops or seminars and presentations, that kind of touched on or expanded on whatever was being discussed in the classroom. So that was something that I really looked forward to and enjoyed in terms of my day-to-day experience in at UTRGV.
It seems like college has this great amount of freedom and flexibility. And with that comes with a lot of positives and possibly a lot of obstacles. So for the next question, I wanted to ask you all, what was the biggest obstacle you encountered when transitioning between high school and college?
For me, it was very different being in high school because I didn't have much responsibilities. I didn't have any, my priorities just were of a kid. I was a kid, and once you go into college, you have to open up and where am I going to work and what am I going to do and what am I going to study, because in 4 years I'm going to graduate and I need to have a job and be financially stable and just be stable. So in high school, you didn't really have to, I guess, like, show as much effort or put as much work or study or time into everything. You had time to go to games and to do all these things. And in college, it's just different, especially if you have a job and you're trying to maintain a good enough GPA. So it's very different. It's putting more effort and more interest into your major and into what you're studying than it is in high school when you don't have anything to do. And once 4 o'clock hits when you're out of school, that's it. Your day's done. So that was the hardest thing for me, but I was also prepared for it.
I think one of the biggest obstacles for me was the idea that, like Sophia was saying, that the responsibilities we had in high school were nowhere near as I would say, gargantuan as after high school. So for me, my issue was prioritization. Good example of this is I used to prioritize my part-time job over school, and my GPA took a huge loss due to that same reason. After that, I then realized, well, you got to start balancing things out. I'm a huge procrastinator, which doesn't help whatsoever. So the biggest obstacle for me was the idea of prioritizing, and as well as trying to find the middle ground between work, school, and my own social life. And for me, that was my biggest obstacle. I'm a very social person. So if someone tells me, "Hey, you want to go catch a drink after your class?" Yeah, sure thing. I'm all for it. Yeah, sure thing. Even though I have a final within the next 2 hours, yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. So that was my biggest obstacle, was trying to find that perfect balance. Like Thanos once said, perfectly balanced as all things should be.
I like what Adolfo said about the social life, because in high school I was so close with my friends. I would always hang out with them after school because we didn't have homework. And so now trying to maintain that friendship is kind of difficult. So that's why I separate my classes so that I could get all that work done to have time for my job and my friends whenever I don't work. It was also kind of hard for me because I was still stuck in that high school mindset my freshman year, and that procrastination made my grades slip. And so I think I learned from that now, and I've done a much better job at trying to do all my work.
I agree with a lot of the comments that have been mentioned. I think the biggest one here is procrastination. In high school, it was so easy to kind of just push aside or postpone a lot of these homework assignments. And as far as studies go, or studying goes, I felt like I never really had to put in as much effort in high school. But that completely changes once you get to college. You need to, have a schedule if you want to hit all A's, for all your classes. And if you don't do that, and if you don't schedule your time in, you're going to see that reflect on your grades. You're not going to do as good as you want, and it's going to be kind of playing catch up. And so I think that was the hardest thing. And I think you feel it most initially on your first semester, where after the first exam, that's where it kind of hits you, and you start seeing like, well, there's got to be some change if you want to keep up your grades and get into whatever career path you want to pursue. So it's something that, it is definitely hard, but at the same time, I felt like I was also able to freely talk with my peers about it, and everybody kind of had the same came to the same consensus that we should take it more seriously, and I think that helped cope with the whole transition phase.
This leads on to my next question, which comes up a lot through our work at CSLAP, which is a lot of high school seniors are feeling a lot of anxiety about what does college actually look like in terms of academics. So academic rigor and how do you adapt to that workload. So I wanted to ask all of you if you'd mind describing your academic experience at UTRGV and how have you adapted to that rigor and workload and helped prepare yourself for your career.
Like Christian said, once you take that first exam, your first semester, you know what college is like. It's definitely not the same as high school, that you don't have to study and you can get by that way. And even sometimes when you study in college, what you see on the exam is nothing of what you studied. It's just something different. For me, I actually have 2 jobs and I'm a full-time student. So I have to, it's a lot about time management as well, because I also, between those 2 jobs, one being full-time, one being part-time, and being a full-time student, you have to also find time to do other things while also studying and making sure that you make the time to do that. Because if you don't, then your grades would definitely hit it. And the first year, first semester is something that you kind of like learn as you go, which is hard because you're trying to start with a high GPA. But I mean, it's really just about time management. And if you manage your time wisely, you should be able to get everything done. And I mean, I do it with 2 jobs and being a full-time student. It's possible. It's not the easiest, but it is possible.
Like Sophia was saying, it depends on you. I know that for a fact. For my case, when I was doing, I think I was taking 4 classes. I was doing full-time student, and personally, that did not work out for me at all with my work schedule and my timing and my scheduling. So I decided to drop down to 2 hours a semester, not 2 hours, 2 classes a semester. And albeit it wasn't as difficult as 4 classes, but the way it works a lot better for me because I'm a kind of person that I like to focus on specific classes. That, like I said earlier, my prioritization isn't the best, but I like to focus on some classes that really catch my attention. If they don't catch my attention, I really I try to force myself into it. But my academic experience overall, it's just really depending on me on as to how I want to tackle this the semester. Like she said, the first exams in the first semester of attending UTRGV was the biggest wake up call of my life. Um, I tried the tried and true cram before the night of the exam. Doesn't work. It will never work. If it works, you got something right. But it mostly depends on you, really. The workload, the scheduling, it's all depending on the individual and how much they're willing to put into it.
For my first year of college, starting out as like a freshman, I slacked off a lot, and that my grades show that. And I think learning from that, I learned how to manage my time more. And I would say the rigor, once I started to like ease into like the second semester, I finally learned how to study for an exam, how to take an exam, because in high school I never studied for an exam. I didn't know how to, so I had to teach myself how to study and how to do a better job on my tests and how to get my grades up for a good GPA.
I think the first semester really taught me how to kind of go about the remainder of my 3.5 years in college. And what you need to do is just find a way to adapt, just like with anything in life. You get a new job, you're not going to know everything from the start, but you start finding out ways to kind of be more efficient and find out what works for you and how to get that job done. And it's the same thing for college. It is pretty tough at first, but you start learning as you go along and you find out what works for you. And it might not necessarily be what worked for somebody else. So what I would recommend is talk to your peers, talk to them about study strategies, different type of, discuss different tips. Maybe you find out, you start learning about yourself too. You find out that maybe you work better in a group, or maybe you just, you find you have the best results when you study by yourself. So it's just really a matter of finding out the best method to kind of go about your entire college experience. So if there is some concern, some anxiety coming into college as to the rigor, or if you're not prepared enough, or you're scared that you're gonna fail, I would say don't worry about it. I think college is kind of very flexible in that, like, even if you manage to do poorly on your first exam or your first couple assignments, if you're able to adapt to the situation, I think you should have no problem, bouncing back and doing well. And it's not the end of the world. One bad grade in one class is not necessarily going to dictate how you would do in your career path or your future. So I would say don't worry about it, and just give it your best. Find out what's best for you, and don't ever stop learning about yourself or the material.
I think this is all great advice, and I think advice is so invaluable nowadays, especially during May 2020, when the class of 2020 is about to graduate, and they're probably thinking, what is my life going to be like in a couple months when I enter UTRGV? So now that you guys have the experience of attending UTRGV, I wanted to ask you, what is one piece of advice you would give to yourself as a graduating senior?
A piece of advice I would like to give, and I know it's a little bit scary, but once you come out of high school, you should know what you want to do. Just because being in college and the fact that you now have to pay for school and your time is money, literally. I mean, don't go, like, you're not going to be in school for 8 years fluctuating between which major, and I like this and I don't like this. You should know, hopefully, like, what you want to do and what you want to pursue later on, because these 4 years go by so fast. These 2 years that I've done have gone by so fast, and I know that in a year and a half or two, I'll be graduated, and I need to find a job. I need to do something. So I know it's important to be socially out there and having fun and experiencing that college life, but at the same time, it's not going to be there forever. So don't mess up your GPA because you want to go out and you want to be partying and doing all these things, because at the end, when you do graduate, that won't be there anymore. What's going to be there is your job that you're going to have to find with the degree that you achieved. So I would say, make wise decisions in what you spend your time in and what you dedicate yourself to.
A piece of advice that I would have given myself as a graduating senior. I've given this advice before to a couple of students over at Vanguard Mozart. I said to them was that once you get an associate's in a specific pathway, my case was the sciences and chemistry. Once you get an associate's and you've devoted at least 2 years' time towards it, you're practically married to it because you've already have some of the prerequisites for it. You've already devoted time to that specific pathway. And once you get to that point where you're halfway into that degree for a bachelor's, there's really no turning back, albeit you can, but you're going to struggle. But the smart thing to do is to figure out, like Sophia was saying, figure out what you want to do before you start going into that rabbit hole that, okay, what if I want to do this instead? Recently, I spoke to my father, and he and I were discussing that for me, what if I didn't want to do the bachelor's and I wanted to jump straight into the PhD program for pharmacy? And he had told me that, well, you've already devoted at least 4 years' time into chemistry. And if you swap over to pharmacy, you're just going to be devoting another probably 7 years of time, and you wouldn't be walking away with a degree within that time. You'd still be stuck progressing to a degree. You wouldn't have anything to show for that time. And like Sophia also said earlier, time is money, and pharmacy school isn't the cheapest. And looking at it now, it's the best decision for me to kind of stick to my roots and go with the bachelor's degree. Another piece of advice that I would have given myself was that what was it? It was to make sure that I figure out a way to make sure that I was the best student as possible. In high school, I wasn't. I was always that guy in the back of the class making jokes. Uh, that doesn't help very much in college now. If anything, it kind of helps lighten up the mood before an exam, but other than that, it does nothing. So it's really to be the best me I can be in college, and to make sure that I know what I want and that there's a clear pathway for me to go towards, and that there's nothing else I should be going askew.
In my case, if I had to give a piece of advice to myself, I would say take your time. In high school, I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do, any idea. I just started this major in business management after switching like 4 times. I really was not focused on college as much as in high school, so I would tell myself um, to probably focus on that more instead of, you know, going here and there and with my friends carefree. I think it would have helped my time more because right now I was probably like wasting my first semester away. Um, but now that I've learned to like stick to something, it has really helped. And especially during like college, um, my experiences with friends and all that wasn't the best. You try not to focus more on that. I would say focus more on college because those friends aren't really going to be in your life afterwards. They're going to have their own jobs, their own family, their own house. Yeah, you'll keep in touch, but after that, it won't be the same. So I would say probably just focus on yourself and make yourself better so that you can grow as a person and that you could become an amazing business manager.
An advice I would give to myself would probably be to not be afraid to go outside of your comfort circle. I think college offers a great opportunity for individuals to kind of find themselves and learn what they like, who they are, and how they fit into the world. And you don't really get to learn as much if you're just always doing the same things. If you kind of step out of your boundaries, and you might even find that you like something that you never thought was something you'd be interested in. So that's something I would tell myself: do this, be involved, go on that event, try out that organization, give it a shot. If you don't like it, you can always just step back. Nobody's really obligating you to do anything or forcing you to be part of something. Just kind of get out there, and you might find out that thing you didn't think you had any interest in becomes something that you kind of carry on throughout your college years and even for life. So Chris, if I could go back, I would be telling you just, try it all, and, have fun with the whole college experience. It's a great opportunity to kind of just learn about yourself, about new content, and just to meet new people. So more than anything, just live a happy life.
Thank you all for those amazing responses. And CSLAP is all about mentorship and building connections between students who are undergoing these experiences in higher ed to students about to experience them, so we can uplift our community. So for students who are watching this afterward online, would you all like to share some piece of contact information in case anyone has more questions or they want to get more help on the college transition process?
Yeah, you can email me at my UTRGV email, Sophia.Ramos01@utrgv.edu.
You can contact me on the CSLAP official website at cslapofficial.com, or you can email me directly at capital A Adolfo.Garcia03@utrgv.edu.
You can contact me at my UTRGV email, callista.nevadas01@utrgv.edu.
If you have any questions or concerns, just go ahead and message me at christian.mercado01@utrgv.edu.
Thank you all for that. And thank you all for taking the time to answer these questions. And I'm sure our community and students of the class of 2020 and even onward will really appreciate this content. So thank you all again, and I hope you guys have an amazing day.